Hi guys! With the popularity of Critical Role and the Adventure Zone, more and more people have become interested in role-playing games. So today we're going to look at different types of role-playing games and how to get involved in the RPG community. So what is role-playing? Generally speaking, it's taking on a character, whether it's your own or pre-generated, and acting or reacting as that character would for the duration of that game. There are several different mediums in which you can do this. So the first is written roleplay, the second is tabletop games, and the third is through LARP and cosplay, which is something you've seen us do countless times through our in-character panels and skits and that kind of thing. So written roleplay is done over Discord, messengers, forums, even email, and it can range from original stories and original characters to fandoms and bandums. This kind of roleplay is sort of collaborative storytelling between yourself and your writing partners, where you'll often plot out a scenario to roleplay. It doesn't have to be, dead set or anything. You literally just say, well, I want this scenario, I want this sort of time period, and I want these characters. Once you know what you want your story to be, you each take on a character, or sometimes multiple, and write their actions and dialogue and thoughts in response to the scenario. And you tend to write in turn, often building upon the last person's response and reacting to it and sort of building it up from there. There are several places you can look to find a writing partner. Social media sites, particularly Tumblr and Reddit, have blogs and pages dedicated to helping folk find people to write with. There are also some forums out there online that allow users to post requests for one-on-one roleplays or for group roleplays as well. This is something you do need to be quite cautious about, however, because as with any online interaction, you don't actually know who you're actually talking to, whether they are who they say they are, or how old they are, or anything like that. Roleplay etiquette is slightly different depending on what medium you're using as well, and within writing, again, it varies depending on whether you're using emails or Kik or Messenger or anything like that. So the first things to think about when you're writing is if you are over 18 and want to write mature themes, make sure your writing partner is also over 18. If you are under 18, please do not lie about your age. Writing mature themes with a minor is illegal and can land your writing partner in huge trouble. Jail time type of trouble. Next, think about stylistically how you write and how your potential partner is going to write. Do you prefer paragraphs or one-liners or asterisk roleplay? Some things are more suited to Discord or Kik or email. Do you prefer to write first person or third person? Writing with somebody whose style is completely different to yours can be quite jarring and it can be quite difficult to work with. So when you're looking for ads or posting ads, something to consider. The next big one in the community is god modding. So god modding is where you try to control every aspect of the roleplay. It's where your character is impervious to everything. If you're in a fight, nothing hits you. It's controlling your partner's actions. When you're in a roleplay, the whole point is this give and take. It's you describing your character's actions and the other person responding to you. Don't try to control how the other person's thinking or saying or what their character's doing, because it's just not fun and it defeats the whole point of roleplaying. On a similar vein, don't make your character perfect. Give them flaws, fears, ambitions, make them human. It's much more fun to roleplay out a flaw than it is to be brilliant at everything. Where's the fun in it? Something I've learned from many years of doing this is to communicate with your partner. Be honest with them. Discuss any limits, any triggers you have, anything you might want to avoid or include in your roleplay. And if something comes up that you're not comfortable with, then discuss it with them out of character and do it politely, obviously, but otherwise how will they know something's bothering you? And finally, along those lines, don't ghost people. It's a crappy thing to do in real life, it's a crappy thing to do online. If you're bored or you don't have time or your writing styles aren't compatible, just let them know. Part on good terms rather than leaving them hanging. Next up is tabletop roleplay. This is hugely popular at the moment with podcasters and YouTubers helping to bring new folk into the hobby, and it's a really fun way to roleplay. There are so many cool systems out there, so I'm just going to flash a few up for you. That's Werewolf, Serenity, Seventh Sea, Mutants and Masterminds, and of course the one that everybody knows, Dungeons and Dragons. I will do a different video on all these kinds of systems. I've got quite a few more downstairs as well. Generally, tabletop roleplays involve a group of people coming together to solve problems and do quests and that kind of thing, all set by the games master. Often involves a lot of swearing and dice. So with this type of role-playing, you create a character to play, and then for that session, and for however many sessions are in that game, you react to the situation given as if you were that character. You won't often have to act out the scene, beyond talking and maybe pulling a few faces, but you'll probably be asked to verbalise how your character moves or what actions they take. Often you'll have a character that has a specific role in the group, something they specialise in, and I tend to roleplay thieves and rogues. So as a rogue, I would say, well, I want to sneak up to that door and I want to check for traps along the way. And then you would roll to do the action. And finally we have roleplay in a more active sense through cosplay and LARP. That is live action roleplay. There's actually quite a bit of crossover between cosplay and LARP. So whilst you don't actually have to act in character for cosplay, it can help you with things like photo shoots and panels and videos. So it is quite a good thing to be able to do and be able to get into. With LARP especially, you take on a character for a set amount of time, be it a few hours or for the whole weekend, and you become that character's physical representation within that game. This means you dress and act as that character during time in, interacting with other players and the world around you just as your character would. The main thing that sets this apart from tabletop gaming is this very physical kind of roleplay. You have costumes and props and you physically interact with the world and its players. This kind of heavy interaction also means it can be quite intense, so some players will experience character bleed or even LARP drop afterwards. So character bleed is where you're finding it difficult to separate yourself and your emotions from your character's self and emotions. And LARP drop is sort of that post-con blues, I guess, is a good way to describe it. Just like with tabletop games, there are many different systems and many playing styles within LARP, and not every system is going to work for you. There are games that deal with politics and power, some deal with uniting players in a battle against monsters, and there are even some that are player against player. Likewise, the settings of each game can vary massively. I've played in mini games set in convention halls that lasted about 4 hours, and recently I was in a weekend one that was set in a boarding school with proper beds, which was lovely. I've so far avoided the games that require camping, but other people prefer those. Sometimes you just have to give them a go, and if you don't enjoy them, then move on to something else. With both tabletop and LARP, finding groups can be quite difficult. It's often about knowing somebody who's played the game, or somebody who can point you in the right direction. There are conventions dedicated to role-playing games, so it's worth having a look at these. Often they run one-shots and taster sessions of different systems, so you can sort of drop in and try a session and see if you enjoy the experience. In the UK there are several, so I know of Conquest, Consequences, Contingency, and UK Games Expo, but there are probably quite a few local ones as well. The other thing is comic book shops and game shops sometimes will have their own gaming groups, or like an evening gaming session that it might be worth checking out. Another way to find gaming groups is on social media. Not only do they have their own pages, but some will be set up to advertise for players locally. Obviously be very careful about meeting strangers off the internet in private settings. I'd actually recommend at first trying gaming clubs or games nights and that kind of thing, things that are run in public spaces and have a large number of attendees. That way you can sort of get to know different people, get to know different clubs before you go meeting Joe at his house and having a bad time. Etiquette for LARPing and tabletop is quite similar because they're similar mediums, they're face-to-face, they're interactive. First off is to create a character that's not only fun to play, but for others to play with as well. Have flaws and goals and make them interesting. Give them something unique that others can sort of play on or bounce off of. It's fine to create an edgy loner, but you need to have something that brings them into the story and invests them into the group. Otherwise the others are going to be going off and having adventures while you're brooding in the corner, and that's just boring. Next, along the lines of character creation, it's okay to borrow character concepts from media as a base for yours. For my original 7th Sea campaign, I based my pirate Alice on Elizabeth Swann from Pirates of the Caribbean. So basically I had a girl running away from an arranged marriage, and then I adapted her to fit the setting and the world of 7th Sea. Characters can also evolve over the course of playing them. Much like events change people in life, so can they in roleplay, and that can be really fun to play with as well. So if your character doesn't quite turn out the way you thought they were going to, that's okay, because you've made something more unique. Next one. It's great to get your ideas out. We love hearing your crazy plans, but give other people a chance to speak and act as well. Half the fun of the game is interacting with the people that you're playing with, so give them the room to roleplay as well, and you never know what crazy plans they've got. So much like writing roleplay, communication is key. If you are role-playing an intense scene, something that might be triggering to somebody, like death or torture, or even playing with somebody's phobias, then it's probably best to talk to those people involved before you start the scene. Make sure they're going to be okay with it. If it's something that pops up without being able to chat about it out of character first, then check in with them at the end of the scene, because it can be quite a hard thing, and it can be quite an intense thing. So always check on everyone, make sure everyone's having a good time. And finally, if you ever find yourself uncomfortable in a scenario, it's perfectly okay to drop it. Tell those involved out of character that you aren't comfortable continuing, and withdraw from the scene. It's okay to need a break from role-playing. Most LARPs in particular will have a safe out-character space to chill out if you need it. So use it if you need it. So there is our quick and dirty guide to role-playing. It's a fun hobby that's surprisingly social, and the community is generally very open and supportive. So I will leave you with a couple of memes of wisdom.